Have you ever wondered if the teachings of Christ can do more than simply guide your moral life? Imagine for a moment the possibility of accessing a higher level of consciousness, feeling a profound connection with the divine, and seeing reality with clarity and purpose. This is the transformative power that resides within you, waiting to be awakened. The activation of the pineal gland, guided by the teachings of Jesus, opens this portal. What we are about to explore may not only transform your spiritual life, but also your perception of yourself and the world around you. If you wish to experience this spiritual transformation, the teachings of Christ offer the map for this journey. Christ, in his divine wisdom, brought teachings to the world that transcend the physical realm. He taught us about an invisible kingdom, an inner space where truth and light meet. It is in this space that your pineal gland, your third eye, plays a crucial role. By activating it, you will be following the same steps that Christ took on his spiritual journey, opening yourself to a deeper connection with God. You might be wondering, why is the pineal gland so important? And what does it have to do with Jesus? The pineal gland is a small gland in the center of the brain, often associated with intuition, spiritual perception, and enlightenment. In ancient times, it was seen as the bridge between the body and the spirit. By combining Christ's teachings with practices that stimulate the pineal gland, we come closer to this essential truth he showed us: the kingdom of heaven is within us. Over the centuries, mystics and sages who followed in Jesus' footsteps discovered that the eyes are the lamp of the body. This passage, which may seem symbolic, carries a deep meaning. The inner light that Christ mentioned is directly linked to the awakening of our third eye. It is through this activation that we can see with the eyes of the soul, accessing greater wisdom and aligning ourselves with the divine will. But what does this mean for your daily life? It means that within you lies the power to connect with something much greater than the material world. By activating your pineal gland with Christ's teachings, you begin to realize that you are not separate from the divine. You are part of something much greater, and this realization brings peace, clarity, and purpose to your existence. Christ always taught us to seek the truth, the light, and the way. And he left clear signs that this path is deeply rooted in our spiritual being. The activation of the pineal gland is not just an esoteric practice, it is a journey to reconnect with our divine self. Through contemplative prayer, meditation, and the practice of forgiveness, as taught by Jesus, we can release emotional and energetic blockages that prevent us from accessing this inner light. Imagine living in a state of pure connection, where every step you take is aligned with God's will. This is the destiny of those who follow Christ's path with an open heart. The activation of the pineal gland is not an instant event, but a process that, when nurtured by the teachings of Jesus, can bring profound insights and real spiritual transformation. As you deepen in this journey, you will begin to notice signs. Increased intuition, more vivid dreams, and a growing sense of inner peace are just a few of the indications that your pineal gland is awakening. Christ told us that those who seek the truth will find it, and that is exactly what happens when we open our third eye to the divine light he promised us. The pineal gland is a small, pinecone-shaped structure located at the center of the brain, between the two hemispheres. Its name comes from the Latin word pinea, which means pinecone, due to its characteristic shape. Traditionally, science recognizes it as responsible for regulating circadian rhythms, controlling the sleep-wake cycle through the production of melatonin. However, for those who explore spiritual realms, the pineal gland is much more than that. In various spiritual and esoteric traditions, the pineal gland is referred to as the third eye. This term symbolizes the ability to perceive beyond physical reality, opening the door to higher dimensions of consciousness and intuition. The third eye is seen as the center of spiritual perception, where we can access divine wisdom, clairvoyance, and a deeper understanding of the universe and our place in it. Unlike physical eyes that see the material world, the third eye allows us to see spiritual truth, perceiving the reality invisible to the human eye. Many ancient cultures, such as the Egyptians and Hindus, revered the third eye as a symbol of enlightenment and connection with the divine. The Eye of Horus in ancient Egypt is often interpreted as a representation of the pineal gland. In Hinduism, the bindi, the central dot on the forehead, symbolizes the third eye and the opening to spiritual knowledge. These ancient cultures already recognized the power of this gland and its ability to awaken higher states of consciousness. In esoteric Christian spirituality, The pineal gland is seen as the point of connection between man and God. Jesus himself spoke about the importance of seeing with the eyes of the soul, when he said in Matthew 6 verse 22, "The eyes are the lamp of the body." If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. Many interpret this passage as a reference to the third eye. In other words, when our third eye is awake and clear, our entire existence is illuminated by divine light. The pineal gland, when activated, is described as a kind of spiritual antenna, capable of capturing subtle frequencies and messages from the universe. It is through it that many experience intuitive insights, sensations of unity with the whole, and a deep inner peace. Those who meditate deeply or practice spiritual introspection often report physical sensations in the forehead area, which is where the third eye manifests. These sensations are often accompanied by surprising mental and spiritual clarity. The pineal gland is often described as the portal between worlds, the physical and the spiritual. When this portal is activated, it allows us to see beyond the tangible world and access greater wisdom that goes beyond logical and rational comprehension. Many sages and mystics believe that through the pineal gland, we can connect directly with the divine source, receiving spiritual guidance and revelations. For many scholars of spirituality, the pineal gland is also seen as the seat of the soul. René Descartes, a 17th-century French philosopher, was one of the first to suggest that the pineal gland is where the human soul resides, controlling our emotions, thoughts, and, most importantly, our mystical experiences. This view strengthens the idea that the pineal gland is much more than just a biological gland. It is the gateway to our deepest spiritual self. In spiritual practice, the pineal gland is considered the energetic center responsible for our connection with the divine and for perceiving higher truth. When this gland is blocked or calcified, we may feel spiritually disconnected, lacking clarity or purpose. However, when the pineal gland is activated, a world of spiritual possibilities opens up. We feel God's presence more intensely, intuition sharpens, and we begin to live more aligned with our true essence. Christ's teachings are not just moral guides for a righteous life, they are a profound invitation to a spiritual journey that leads to inner enlightenment. Jesus, in his infinite wisdom, revealed a path that goes far beyond the physical world, pointing to a divine reality where the connection with God is not only possible but essential to our true nature. Christ taught us that the kingdom of heaven is within us, and it is through this message that we can begin to understand the role of the pineal gland in the process of spiritual enlightenment. Christ always emphasized the importance of seeing beyond what the physical eyes can see. His teachings, often wrapped in metaphors and parables, brought to light the need for a new kind of vision, a vision that is not limited to the material world but allows us to access spiritual truth. The third eye can be interpreted as this ability to see the divine light and the highest truth. When Jesus told us that the eyes are the lamp of the body, he was indicating that there is something more beyond common vision. Christ's teachings are an invitation to awaken to our true essence. When he speaks of being born again, John 3 verse 3, he is not merely referring to an external transformation or a physical new beginning but to a profound change of perception, where the soul aligns with divine truth. The pineal gland plays a crucial role in this spiritual rebirth. When activated, the pineal gland allows us to access higher consciousness, leading us to a state of unity with God, something that Jesus always emphasized in his teachings. Jesus also taught us about the importance of purity of heart and mind to enter the kingdom of heaven. The purity Christ mentions is not just a matter of external actions but of inner clarity, where the mind and spirit align with divine truth. The activation of the pineal gland, in this context, can be seen as the process of spiritual purification, where emotional and energetic blockages are released, allowing divine light to flow freely within us. When our pineal gland is awake, we are able to experience the true connection with God, which Christ promised to all who followed his path. Christ often withdrew to pray in silence and solitude, seeking moments of introspection and direct connection with the Father. This practice of Jesus is a clear example of how we should cultivate our own spiritual connection, creating the inner space necessary to hear the voice of God. The pineal gland, when activated, facilitates this process, allowing our quiet mind to receive divine wisdom and guidance. When we follow Christ's example and surrender to silence and contemplation, we activate the third eye and begin to perceive the spiritual truth that surrounds us. The pineal gland, then, can be seen as a crucial element in the path to enlightenment proposed by Christ. If we understand the pineal gland as the center of spiritual perception, we can see that its activation is a fundamental part of the journey Jesus invited us to take. Christ did not ask us to seek the kingdom of heaven outside of ourselves, but within us. The activation of the pineal gland helps us live this truth, allowing us to experience a direct connection with the divine, something that transcends words and dogmas. When Christ spoke of the way, the truth, and the life, he was guiding us toward a life of total alignment with the divine source. And this journey of enlightenment requires us to free ourselves from the distractions of the physical world and focus on what truly matters, our connection with God. The pineal gland, when activated, is like a beacon that guides us on this path, showing us what is true and helping us discern what is illusion. With this gland awakened, we begin to see the world with the eyes of the Spirit, just as Christ taught us. In the pursuit of spiritual enlightenment, Christ gave us the essential tools: prayer, meditation, fasting, forgiveness, and unconditional love. Each of these elements has the power to unlock and activate the pineal gland, allowing divine light to flow through us. Jesus showed us that when we purify our hearts and minds, we are able to live in harmony with the universe, aligned with the divine will. This state of being is what many mystics describe as enlightenment, an experience where the ego is transcended, and we become one with God. Therefore, the pineal gland is a key piece in the process of spiritual redemption and elevation. When activated, it places us in direct contact with the divine, something Christ repeatedly demonstrated in his own life. Following in Jesus' footsteps, practicing what he taught, helps us unlock this spiritual potential within ourselves. The activation of the pineal gland is not an end in itself but a means to achieve a deeper connection with God and live a life illuminated by truth. The activation of the pineal gland, guided by the teachings of Christ, is a call for all of us. Christ showed us the path of light, truth, and eternal life, and by activating our pineal gland, we align ourselves with that path. It's not just about reaching elevated states of consciousness, it's about living in harmony with the divine will, allowing the light of God to shine through us. This is the true meaning of spiritual enlightenment that Christ taught us. Christ left us a spiritual legacy that goes beyond words. Meditation, from the perspective of Jesus' teachings, is not merely a relaxation practice but a path to connection with the Father. When we engage in deep prayer, we enter a state of surrender, where the mind quiets and the heart opens to the divine. This state of inner serenity is essential for activating the pineal gland, as it is in the calmness of the mind that we can access higher levels of consciousness. In contemplative meditation, inspired by Christ's teachings, we seek more than just asking God for something. It is a moment of deep connection and listening, where instead of speaking, we allow ourselves to hear. When Jesus withdrew to pray in silence, in communion with the Father, he connected with the divine source in an intense and intimate way. When we follow this path of introspection, the pineal gland naturally begins to open, facilitating our spiritual perception and the reception of divine insights. The practice of meditation, when combined with contemplative prayer, creates a favorable environment for spiritual awakening, which involves the activation of the pineal gland. Contemplative prayer, as exemplified by Jesus, is not merely a request but a way of attuning to the divine presence. By focusing inward, silencing the incessant flow of thoughts, and making room for God's light, we allow the pineal gland to become a channel of spiritual perception, leading us to experience deeper levels of connection with the sacred. Spiritual fasting was also a central practice in Christ's teachings. He showed us that fasting is not merely a physical practice but a profound spiritual discipline that purifies both body and soul. Fasting helps us detach from worldly distractions and pleasures, focusing on our connection with God. When we fast, we create a space of silence and purification, which not only benefits the body but also paves the way for the activation of the pineal gland, facilitating spiritual awakening. Jesus fasted for 40 days in the desert before beginning his ministry, and this period of isolation and purification was essential for his spiritual journey. Fasting allows us to disconnect from the physical world and attune to the divine, promoting an ideal mental and spiritual state for pineal activation. When the body is fasting, there is an energetic cleansing, removing blockages and impurities that impede the free flow of spiritual energy. This state of purity facilitates the opening of the third eye, allowing us to experience spiritual clarity and a stronger connection with the divine. Furthermore, fasting helps us develop greater control over our desires and impulses. By temporarily renouncing food, we develop discipline and focus, directing our energy inward. This practice creates an environment of greater introspection and reflection, essential for spiritual awakening. With the body purified and the mind clear, the pineal gland is naturally activated, allowing us to access higher states of consciousness and approach the spiritual truth that Christ taught us. Another fundamental aspect of Christ's teachings is forgiveness. Jesus repeatedly emphasized the importance of forgiveness, not only as a moral practice but as a profound spiritual act that frees the soul from unnecessary burdens. Forgiveness dissolves emotional blockages that often hinder the flow of energy in the body, including the activation of the pineal gland. When we hold on to resentment or anger, we create energetic barriers that make it difficult to connect with the divine. The act of forgiveness, on the other hand, releases these stagnant energies, opening the way for greater spiritual clarity. Christ taught us that forgiveness is not optional but essential for our spiritual healing. When we forgive, we not only release the other person but also ourselves, eliminating the emotional chains that can block our spiritual evolution. These chains can manifest as dense energies that prevent the pineal gland from functioning at its full capacity. By truly forgiving, we begin to remove the blockages that obscure our spiritual vision, allowing the divine light to flow freely and the third eye to open to the truth. Practicing forgiveness and detachment also helps to decalcify the pineal gland, which often becomes inactive or blocked due to accumulated physical and emotional toxins. The buildup of anger, resentment, and attachment can create a kind of spiritual fog that obscures our ability to see clearly. Purification of these emotions through forgiveness and detachment helps dissolve these toxins, allowing the pineal gland to flourish and become a channel for spiritual perception. When we follow Christ's teachings on forgiveness, detachment, meditation, and fasting, we are not only cultivating our spirituality but also directly working toward the activation of the pineal gland. These practices have the power to purify our mind, body, and spirit, creating a conducive environment for the opening of the third eye. When these blockages are removed, the pineal gland can perform its full spiritual function, connecting us with the divine in a deep and transformative way. Christ also taught us the importance of detachment. Detachment, according to his teachings, does not mean indifference, but a way of releasing our attachment to worldly things, allowing our spiritual energy to flow without obstacles. Emotional and material attachment can create densities in the energy field that prevent the pineal gland from activating. When we practice detachment, we free ourselves from these chains and allow our consciousness to expand, facilitating the awakening of the third eye. Detachment is essential for pineal activation because, by freeing ourselves from worldly worries and desires, we create space for the divine to manifest in our lives. Jesus taught us to trust in God and not to worry about the things of this world, for the Heavenly Father knows what we need. This act of trusting and releasing control is a direct path to expanding spiritual consciousness. When we release attachment, spiritual energy flows freely, and the pineal gland, our center of spiritual perception, is activated more easily. Jesus knew that the path to spiritual enlightenment required discipline, detachment, and total surrender to the divine will. He taught us that to see the kingdom of heaven, we must first purify our hearts and minds, removing the obstacles that keep us bound to the illusions of the world. By practicing forgiveness, detachment, and contemplative prayer, we are following Christ's example, and in doing so, activating the pineal gland as part of our path to enlightenment. Each practice taught by Christ is directly connected to the awakening of our spiritual potential. Meditation and silent prayer create a space of inner peace, fasting purifies the body and mind, and forgiveness and detachment remove the emotional blockages that hinder our evolution. These practices prepare the ground for the activation of the pineal gland, allowing us to connect with the divine light that Christ promised to those who follow his path. When the pineal gland begins to activate, many physical and spiritual signs may arise, indicating that the connection with the divine is being restored. Physically, one of the most common signs is the sensation of pressure or tingling in the forehead, at the point where the third eye is located. This sensation may start as a slight discomfort or pulsation and, over time, become a feeling of openness and expansion. This physical experience indicates that the pineal gland is awakening and that spiritual energy is flowing to this center of perception. In addition to the sensation in the forehead, other physical symptoms may include increased sensitivity to light and colors, as if the world is more alive and vibrant. This happens because pineal activation also affects our sensory perception, allowing us to see the world with greater clarity. As this sensitivity increases, you may notice that you are more aware of subtle energies around you, picking up signals that previously went unnoticed. On a spiritual level, increased intuition is a clear sign that the pineal gland is being activated. Decisions and choices that once seemed confusing or difficult to understand now become clearer. You may start to notice that you have a greater ability to feel what is right or true, without relying as much on logic or reason. This expansion of intuition is a sign that the third eye is allowing you to see beyond superficial appearances and access deeper truths. As the pineal gland is activated, many experience a sense of peace and unity with God, feeling more connected to something greater than themselves. This deep spiritual connection brings an inner clarity and a certainty that we are on the right path, aligned with divine will. This experience of unity reflects what Jesus taught us about the kingdom of heaven, which is not a distant physical place but an inner reality that we can access through connection with God. The feeling of greater mental clarity is one of the most evident signs of pineal activation. The distractions and confusing thoughts that used to dominate your mind begin to dissipate, giving way to a sense of focus and purpose. This mental clarity is accompanied by a sense of inner peace, as if the worries of the material world lose their weight and importance. This transformation is a direct reflection of the opening of the third eye, which allows us to see the world and our lives in a new spiritual light. One of the most powerful aspects of pineal activation is the profound sense of purpose and alignment with the divine plan. As this gland is activated, many report feeling more connected to their life purpose and spiritual mission. This clarity of purpose comes from the perception that we are in sync with God's will, moving in harmony with the divine flow. This brings an unshakable confidence that we are exactly where we need to be, doing what we are called to do. These physical and spiritual signs are directly linked to Jesus' descriptions of the kingdom of heaven. In various passages, Christ teaches us that the kingdom of heaven is not an external or distant place, but something that already exists within us. In Luke 17 verse 21, he says, "The kingdom of God is within you." This elevated state of consciousness, achieved through the activation of the pineal gland, allows us to access this profound truth, living the kingdom of heaven here and now, in our present reality. When the pineal gland is activated, we begin to realize that the kingdom of heaven is an elevated state of consciousness, an experience of unity with God and the universe. This state is marked by inner peace, clarity, and the feeling that we are deeply connected with the divine. Jesus taught us that those who seek the kingdom of heaven will find it, and that is exactly what happens when our pineal gland is awakened. The spiritual vision that the pineal gland provides allows us to see God's presence in all things and experience the divine in every moment. This state of consciousness is characterized by a sense of wholeness and contentment, where the worries and anxieties of the material world lose their grip. Jesus often referred to the kingdom of heaven as a state of peace and happiness, and those who experience the activation of the pineal gland report the same peace, a deep tranquility that transcends external circumstances. This is the experience of the kingdom of heaven that Christ promised, not as a future destination, but as a spiritual reality accessible in the present. Therefore, the signs of pineal gland activation, both physical and spiritual, are indicators that we are entering the state of consciousness that Jesus described as the kingdom of heaven. The pineal gland, as the center of spiritual perception, allows us to access this inner reality, where we experience a direct connection with God and live in alignment with divine truth. When we follow Christ's teachings and activate our pineal gland, we not only reach elevated states of consciousness but also live the promise of the kingdom of heaven in our daily lives. Following in Jesus' footsteps is a divine call for all of us. It is an invitation to profound transformation, a journey toward spiritual enlightenment. When you commit to Christ's teachings, you are not just connecting with the story of a great teacher but aligning yourself with an eternal and powerful truth. Jesus showed us the way to direct connection with God, and by following this path, you will discover true peace, clarity, and purpose. It is important to remember that you already possess the ability to activate your pineal gland and connect deeply with God. The spiritual journey that Jesus proposes to us is not reserved for a select few but is available to all who seek with a sincere heart. Within you lies the power to experience God's presence in a tangible and transformative way. When you follow Jesus' example and apply his teachings to your life, you not only activate your pineal gland but begin to live in alignment with divine will. Imagine a life where you feel God's presence guiding your every step. A life where confusion and uncertainty give way to clarity and confidence. By following in Jesus' footsteps, you will pave the way for this life. Wherever you are starting from, you have the power to transform your reality. Jesus showed us that faith, combined with spiritual action, can move mountains. Your pineal gland is the key to accessing the kingdom of heaven, and by following Christ's teachings, you are opening that door to a new life of spiritual abundance, peace, and unconditional love. The path may not always be easy, but every effort, every step taken in faith, will be rewarded with a deeper connection to the divine. He showed us that the kingdom of heaven is accessible here and now, and by opening your third eye, you can experience this truth in every aspect of your life. Just as a drop of water is part of the vast ocean and a grain of sand contributes to the immensity of a beach, your like and subscription make all the difference in the growth of this channel. If you've watched this far, don't forget to like and subscribe.